Welcome to another chapter of the MODIS Playbook. I'm here with Dr. Grant Olson.
In person this time.
In person. We are at the...
Up top.
All right. We are at the PICO Symposium 2024 down in Orlando, Florida, and taking a minute here to talk about some great shared knowledge for the MODIS Playbook. So the topic of today's conversation is building a rhythm for winning culture. And we're talking to Dr. Grant Olson about this because of Innovative Dental. I think it's very clear from the minute you walk in the door that there is a culture, there is a vibe that everybody buys into, from the way they talk to the way they act to the way the entire place feels. And I think, Grant, after talking to you, it's very intentional what you do to build that culture and I think almost more importantly, maintain that culture and continue to develop it. So we're going to try to get really tactical today and talk about things you can bring into your practice Monday morning in particular to keep your culture alive and to influence it. So let's start with, why do you talk about a rhythm of a winning culture?
Yeah. Well, first off, it's easy to prioritize clinical treatment, right? The production, the collection, the results of a winning culture, right? But it's not easy to prioritize how do we invest in our people, creating an understanding for why we show up to work, what priorities do we have in our practice, what does a winning culture look like, how do we behave, what values do we make decisions with throughout the day, throughout the week. And so sometimes we just go through the motions and we think that, hey, good people will just perform well. And none of us really work like that. So if we don't prioritize the culture in our practice, we're definitely not going to see a culture that thrives. One that's vibrant, engaged with our patient, and is ultimately an enjoyable, successful place to work. And so especially impactful when you have people that are heightened emotions, right? When people come into a dental practice, they're either fearful of the cost, fearful of the pain, the smell, the everything about being in a dental practice. So their emotions are heightened, and we can capitalize on that by being emotionally intentional about connecting with them and having an atmosphere that's there for them, right? So we prioritize that. We know it takes effort to train our team in this, strategies on how to communicate in front of the patient, what things we want to do throughout the day with the patient, whether that's offer them a beverage, whether that's double checking on how they're feeling, any concerns they might have. And again, laughter, smiling, it's my pleasure to serve you. All these things that we kind of discount. We know that we like them. I mean, obviously Chick-fil-A, right? We love that we hear my pleasure and they seem to mean it. It's not just that they say it. So how do we do that? We have to really get our team excited about what creating a unique, vibrant culture is. And you have to be intentional and you have to prioritize it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So your rhythm, what does your rhythm look like for kind of being intentional about building culture in your practice?
Good. So the rhythm is kind of like it's the cadence. We kind of think of it as a weekly cadence. So every week we want to at least be reminding ourselves and kind of re-engaging on things we know can kind of fall to the wayside. And so we think, giving a 5-star patient experience is like the one thing that if we do really well, almost everything else kind of falls into place or has minimal impact. And so we start Monday mornings with that focus of what areas did we give 5-star experiences to our patients. We celebrate them together. We share reviews. We share behavior from our team we call it the Innovator of the Week, where each team member submits a person that they witness them doing something great, right? How many times in our practice do we catch somebody doing something wrong and we go, hey, I need to talk to you about this? And so really we're kind of being the Debbie Downer and always bringing about opportunities or behavioral issues rather than celebrating excellent behavior. And so we take it as an opportunity on Mondays to do that. And celebrate the behaviors that made our patients have great experience by sharing the 5-star experiences and the reviews that the patients left. So that's every week, and we spend a decent amount of time, 10, 15 minutes talking about that. It's an expense, obviously, on the practice to bring in your team to do that. We see it as a priority because it re-engages us with why we showed up, and it does create a different mindset in ourselves, in the leader and in our team to calibrate. We call it the Monday morning reboot. So that's one of our key rhythms. Like there's the downbeat of our rhythm. It's, hey, we hit the ground first with not production, not collection, not the revenues we're going to make today and this week. What are our financial goals? But what are our cultural goals, and how did we achieve them last week, and celebrate the wins?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So Monday morning, every Monday morning in your practice, you guys have a Monday morning reboot. So that meeting you mentioned, you go through and you talk about great patient experiences from the previous week. What other things do you talk about in that meeting?
So another one that I think is critical is we do a patient case study. It can be anything from in our office we do braces. It could be a child that had braces and has a successful result and pretty awesome treatment, but maybe not as dramatic. We can go through somebody who got them out of pain, could be a root canal, and it could be a full mouth reconstruction with dental implants, probably the most transformational. Or it might be a combination of those. Like last week we did braces, so that way we celebrated the ortho team that does our braces in our office, and we did a full mouth reconstruction with dental implants. We call it the Innovative Implant Smile. We celebrated 2 patients that and the team members involved. That's the key component, right? We know that for our offices to be successful, the culture is kind of the general tone of how your team behaves and engages with your vision and your mission and your core values in your practice. That is going to have a lot to do with what's celebrated. So, and what's recognized. So we don't just assume that they are appreciated. We make it a corporate time to go, okay, hey, thanks so much for Laura for answering the phone and giving that initial patient a great experience with answering their questions. And look, you were a part of this smile transformation, right? So Laura might work there all day, every day, and never really get to see the patient. Now, sometimes we actually try to encourage our team to come out and meet the people that they've scheduled. That's another way to kind of bring the culture full circle. So you're engaging your admin and people that might be answering phones with the work they're actually doing and being fruitful. And that's just an intentional way to make sure they don't feel like they're just a robot in a back room performing a mundane task. They're actually making a difference to create a smile that's life-changing, right? And so the case study is just like that. You look at the notes, you see who answered the phone, who marketed to the patient, how'd they find us, what was the discussion like, what was the treatment coordinator they engaged with. And I think it's a good reminder, too, at the beginning of the week, before we go into treatment planning and diagnosing and financial presentation and all the people answering the phone, hey, how does your particular role actually impact a person's life, right? It really engages us with the why, which can easily be, like I said, you kind of get tunnel vision. You get a little bit focused on, okay, my job is to answer the phones, process patients, put them on the schedule, rather than, hey, I know that this is a caring person that's terrified to call. They've had lots of life problems, probably. They may be somebody that's devastated by their smile, and I want to give them that kind of attention because I know that, hey, last week I remember a patient that I did help, and that look what it did. It gave them the attitude when they came into our office to accept treatment. So all the way from phone call, doctor, assistant, front desk, they all play a role in that.
In the case study. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
What about, there's a couple other components I want to ask you about in your Monday morning
Sure.
meeting, because it's an hour, but man, is it jam-packed. So usually up front in your Monday morning reboot meeting, you spend a couple minutes talking about some topic that has to do with culture.
Right.
It usually doesn't necessarily have to do with a dental kind of topic or anything like that. It's usually from books or
Right.
things you've seen in the news, stories. Can you talk a little bit about that segment of your Monday morning meeting?
Yeah. So I usually will, whether it's a book or a video I saw or just an inspirational thought, or it's kind of maybe going over a past topic that we have maybe new team members, or I see opportunities. Maybe, for example, I might see we're struggling to really connect around this idea of do I need to go to other people for permission to just take care of the patient? Because it's a tendency for us to not want to take responsibility, go ask someone maybe above us to have approval to do something that we know we probably just should do anyways. And so we have an idea called License to Thrill, and License to Thrill is critical because it allows our team to have this authority to put the patient first and financially address something up to $300 with no questions asked with any of our anybody else. And so it's just a way for them to really do the right thing in the moment and not seek somebody else's approval. And obviously at that point, you're not giving the patient the best. So we hire people we trust. We give them the tools. This is just one of them, the License to Thrill idea, to really deliver an amazing patient experience. And the reason we might reintroduce into that concept is because maybe the week before, I might have been asked 2 or 3 times by somebody who knew the right answer. They just wanted me to give my stamp of approval, but I want to encourage them to own the patient experience themselves. And I know that's a little different. A lot of times there's a heavy management idea, like I want to be the authority. I really feel like the best culture is one where we hire people we trust, we give them the tools to execute their job to a high level, and they can be 5-star. Matter of fact, we're sitting here in the Ritz-Carlton, right? This is an idea stolen from the Ritz-Carlton. So Ritz-Carlton has up to $3,000. Anyone in the Ritz-Carlton can address a concern and use up to $3,000 to fix a problem should they deem that be worth it. Now, obviously, you're going to have to answer, hey, I gave away something for $2,000, but they don't have to go get permission to do that in advance. And so it's just a way to really put the patient first, and obviously here they put the customer first. That's what gives Ritz-Carlton its reputation. Innovative dental and really any dental practice trying to excel at culture, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? We can just be observant. And you go to a restaurant, you call somebody for somebody to come out and work on your HVAC. Car is one people talk about a lot. So they go get their car worked on. How were they treated? So our team is going to have all these experiences and just encouraging them to share them, whether they were good or bad. How can we apply the behaviors of these local businesses that treated us a certain way, whether good or bad? How do we apply that to our practice and how it might make our patients feel? And so we're connecting experiences we have at a grocery store, calling someone up for a service company, all of these nuances to our lives. Now we're personalizing it to what we do daily, and I think that's key. And we borrow the things that we know are incredibly helpful, right? And so now you're adding things like scent, right? It's a patient experience in our office. We make sure that our office has a scent that we pump through the air conditioning system. It's because we don't want the office to smell like a dental practice, borrowed from the hotel industry. That's not our idea. We don't have a traditional front desk. That's also taken from some resorts we've been to and vacations where they didn't have a traditional front desk. People greeted you face to face, and it just seems like a much more warm and inviting way to do it rather than have this big barrier of somebody sitting down behind it and kind of like looking up at you while they're on the phone or something like that, right? So we can start thinking about these experiences we have as we go through vacations, regular life, and then sharing them as a team. Yeah. So we call them, what was your 5-star experiences this week? And I obviously throw out is any 1-star experiences. Unfortunately, those we can learn from those too, right?
Absolutely. The last piece of the 5-star conversation I love is that you have your team members talk about other people within the team. And it's almost like 5-star reviews of each other. Right. That's a really cool part of the meeting too. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so in our practice we have 55 people. So, me observing all of the great behavior and them being accountable to one person or just a handful of people, not a great solution. So this was actually taken from another industry. American Express does this. They do, I don't know if they currently do, but they used to. But it was a basic way of reporting, telling on your team member that did something good, rather than telling on your team member that messed up, right? And so that's the idea behind it. We call it the Innovator of the Week. And so that's essentially the 5-star reviews on our team members that did something out. We try to make sure it's out of the ordinary. We'd like to know. Now, sometimes just excelling at the ordinary is great, but but maybe they stopped by when a crying baby was in the room and asked mom, hey, can I hold your child for while you get your filling done? That's been something that our team's done dozens of times in the last decade that has made a huge impact on not just the parent, but everybody around that observes it, right? It's just like, wow, look at these people care for people. So it could be something like that, or just somebody that's really cleans up, right? Without being asked. They clean up their space and organize and do something that they weren't asked to do. Rather than that going unnoticed, which, we don't want to always have people only doing things for recognition. But it's also disheartening to be contributing, working hard to make a better environment for your teammate and your patient, and then it to be unsung. So we don't want unsung heroes. We want to try to sing loud for all of our heroes in our practice and make sure that they don't go unrecognized.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's great. Man, we covered a lot of great stuff.
Yeah.
The other great, you buy breakfast for everybody.
Sure.
So can't have hungry people having conversations about culture.
Food is
I love
key.
That.
Food and beverage is like, to that point, like we make sure that we have breakfast for our team. If we're going to have them any meetings, like if it's a Friday meeting, we do a little bit longer discussion every quarter. That's part of our rhythm as well. Every quarter we meet as a team and really dissect our departments. And do some more training and patient. We treat each other too, so we take care of our own dentistry. But that weekly component, I'm not going to bring people in the morning and not try to treat them to breakfast. So it's a good way to, make the mood a little bit brighter for coming in a little earlier. We all understand hospitality, so I would encourage everybody that's got, a dental office to, you could freshly bake cookies for your patients. You can have obviously cappuccino, coffee. We invested in a nice coffee machine. We feel like that experience, the smell of coffee, the smell of freshly baked cookies, it's like you're going into somebody's home, not a dental office.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. The last thing, I know you guys close out with this, but I think it's an important thing to mention too. At the end of every meeting, you ask if there's anybody that you guys should pray for, and you allow people, I think, a space to, acknowledge that they're humans and that there's tough stuff going on. So I think especially in a big team, it's helpful because then at least like what the rest of your team is working with.
Yes.
I think that's a special part of the meeting too.
Yeah. So we want to share the concerns of our team and get really down to gut level. I mean, we all have families and illnesses in our own team, challenges in life maybe that are come up. And we also have patients that might have shared some of the things that are going on in their life. And, there's a level of, obviously, faith in this moment, which I'm a believer, and so I feel very open to do that. But even if you're not, there's just a level of caring for other people, a lack of being, a selflessness in it that is really awesome, that you want to exemplify in leadership. And so, starting our week with that morning prayer and saying, hey, let's pray for the needs of our team and our patients. It's critical. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, as always, I think it's important to ask, you've evolved these things over time.
Sure.
Sometimes, if you don't have a giant team or, maybe you're just getting started at this, you can think about some basics of how to get started.
Yep.
When you were starting this in your first practice you bought, where did you start, and where could somebody start on Monday morning if they wanted to put some of this stuff into place?
Sure. So we've had time to map out a lot of, like you just said, we've been in business for a while, really focusing on this, and so we've got a pretty decent structure now. And when people come and observe that culture and the component of our morning meetings and our office environment, routinely they'll ask, how did you do all this? And I always, because the reality is it's not some feat of crazy human capability. It's how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time, right? So it's a phrase that sticks in my mind. You can do something that seems insurmountable just by focusing on, hey, we don't have to figure this out overnight. And so for us, when we started, our first bite was literally, I had no idea how to create a good culture. I knew one thing: people want to be cared for by kind people. And so I know it's super simple, but I said the 5 people that are still on our team that were there the first day, they'll tell you that's what I started our first morning huddle with in January 3rd of 2013. I said, let's go and be the most kind people that people have ever run into. That's all I got. Break. Let's figure this out. So our first core value that we didn't really have anything else defined was just like, let's be just over the top kind and make people blow their minds, right? Yeah. So if it's that simple to start, and then you just implement these other components along the way, recognition, celebration of patient, new smiles, everybody's involved in that, the case study. I believe that there's, if you want to start at the right thing, the easiest to do is to start with the 5-star experiences, because it motivates proper behavior, good culture, and it's marketing benefit. So it's got like probably the most benefit for ounce of time, right? So that's the place to maybe start. And it's easy to do. Get the team engaged. Our last little episode was about how do you get 5-star reviews. So implementing that into your Monday morning reboot. And the reason we call it a reboot too, by the way, is it's like, what IT guy, you call him up, you're like, man, this computer software's not working. What's the first thing you're going to tell you to do?
Restart,
unplug. And I feel like after a weekend, we need to realign and reboot the systems, if you will. And so our Monday morning reboot it's key to our success. And there's no exact science to it. I think that's why culture is somewhat ignored, right? Because it's like, okay, we spent this time talking about relationship and what people feel when they're engaged with our practice, and how was your weekend calling up and going and fixing your car. We're talking about these things that maybe seem unrelated to, well, let's talk about like just making crowns really good, right? Mm-hmm. So it seems kind of like you're wasting your time. And I can assure you it's not, because it makes people buy in to a much more important thing, and that's the cause, the why, the good vibes we get from actually impacting people rather than just making a paycheck, right?
Yeah, going beyond the teeth, right?
That's right.
To building the smiles.
That's right.
Love it. Well, thanks for sharing a little bit about your Monday morning reboot and how you, as a leader, really strikes me that you intentionally carve out time for you and your team to talk about these things.
Sure.
Which is a wonderful thing to do. So, excellent. We have, as Dr. Grant Olson said, we have another episode on the 5-star review process, which is a big undertone in a lot of what Grant talked about today. And that's it. So thanks so much. And until next time, we'll see you soon.